Hello there, welcome to the library. You may be accustomed to seeing some of these titles in the background of some of the videos here in the living room. It's the dark and mysterious section. We have a collection of fiction, non-fiction and some playful horrors. So I'll try and briefly run through just a few titles. I'm not going to say too much about the story in case you want to sample them yourself. Here we have the classic by Bram Stoker. Dracula, of course. The blurb on the back. We're in Transylvania, of course. Beautiful, simplistic cover. And of course we have some lovely page turning sounds. Adjacent to that we have A Dracula's Child by J.S. Barnes. Bulky read. It is the dark heart of a Bram Stoker's classic reborn there. Patchwork of dark thrills, woven skillfully for new and familiar voices, a macabre delight. Speaking of Bram Stoker's Dracula, I have a collection of horror classics here. And there you'll find another copy, a little bit condensed compared to the original. You'll see some famous authors here. We have Edgar Allan Poe's classic horror tales, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and of course Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. And just to the right here we have a collection of tales put together by Peter Haining, covering a few famous horror writers. A very ye olde collection of tales there. You'll find writers such as John Wyndham, Bram Stoker's again, with Dracula's Guest, Edgar Allan Poe again, Robert Louis Stevenson with The Body Snatcher. So, a little bit of repetition with the writers. One of my childhood books that I kept nice and secure in the collection. I picked this up at primary school, True Ghost Stories by Terry Deary. Stories about the famous Flying Dutchman. I think we have some about witches. We have The Ghost's Revenge, The Miller of Chester Street, the Northwest, or the Northeast, sorry. Collection of small tales there. There's one about the Flying Dutchman. So that was brilliant as a child. Lovely reads there. Now, you may have tuned in when we covered Ghosts and Legends of Staffordshire and the Black Country. It's my neck of the woods. Again, this is another old book from my childhood. I think we covered some stories on Alton, Stoke-on-Trent, Bloxwich, Bilston. There we go, Stoke-on-Trent, case in point. Stafford, Rugeley, my old stomping ground, Kinver, Hopwas, Hensford. That's very interesting, especially if you're from the Midlands. It might be worth a little read. you're interested in ghostly tales. And then of course we've covered a few night frights, again back to my childhood. Used to provide some lovely scares. We did cover one in the recent ASMR mystery box video from the first night frights. Of course 13 scary stories. JB Stamper. And next to that, not really horror, slightly out of place, we have Norse myths that inspired one of my favourite games. Maybe worth a read if you are a Final Fantasy VII fan. It talks about the weapons, the names, the materia, the summons, etc., the locations. We have some grim tales. We have William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist and the Ghosts of Christmas Past. There we go, some collection of stories. Neil Gaiman, of course, stands out. M.R. James and E. Nesbitt. So let's proceed to the next level down. Okay, just looking on the next shelf, we have a few collection of tales here. We have a section on witches, which I find very interesting. Some hardbacks here, the Chilling Ghost stories. I'll show you the cover design there. Collection of short Gothic fantasy stories there. Let's have a look who we can discover. Raymond Little, Luke Murphy, Edith Nesbitt. A few tales there. The Bulge in the Wall, The Psychic Fair, Unclaimed, The Bottle Imp, Bewitched, just to name a few. We have great ghost stories here. It's a collection of authors there. It's a Reader's Digest one. That was $3.99 it looks like. The Corner Shop, Transition, The Crowd, Smee, The July Ghost. And a few more recent tales. Got stories of E.F. Benson there. Lovely. Actually, I've got stories by women there. 25 tales of the supernatural. Now this is an interesting one. It's a haunting set in a furniture shop, designed like an IKEA catalogue. This is Horror Store, a novel by Grady Hendrix. Very interesting. And I think you'll enjoy this one. It's rather gripping. I'll show you some of the appliances and pieces. As you can see, set out similar fashion to an IKEA catalogue. And of course we have more by Grady Hendrix here. We have My Best Friend's Exorcism, beautiful cover. It also has a worn look by design. That for a beautiful cover. All the magic of a summer horror flick. Right, we have a Hex. We have a Road of Bones, Christopher Golden. We have a Strange Tales here by the famous Rudyard Kipling. Tales of Mystery and the Supernatural. We have The House Surgeon, The Wish House, Matter of Fact, The Lost Legion, to name but a few there again. Night Shivers there, a recent acquisition that is not quite found itself a home. Purchased that last week. I'll have a little read of that. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I do like to understand different perspectives and takes on things. Okay, so that's that shelf. Let's move on to a little bit more colourful horror. Okay, I'm sure you can see the Stephen Kings there. I'll get to those shortly. I've quite a few of those. Next, we're on this shelf. So from here to here, by no means complete. I did get rid of a lot of Goosebumps books when I was younger, which I regret. But I'm going to slowly start building up the collection. I loved these as a child. We do have number one, of course. Just get rid of one of these. There we go. Number one, R.L. Stein was, of course, Welcome to Dead House there. There's a nice little blurb that gets to the point on the back there. I'm going to try and pull out a couple of my favourites from back in the day. I believe The Ghost Next Door was one of them. That was number 10 in the series. Anna's really fed up with the summer so far. All her friends are away, so she's stuck with her little twin brothers for company. And Danny has moved in next door. Maybe she will have some fun after all. Danny's pretty weird. Now he's pale, ghostly pale, and keeps disappearing. And then as we got into the 30s, the 40s, things really took a sharp increase in quality, in my opinion. We had Ghost Camp. There. I very much enjoyed Vampire Breath, which was number 49. Essentially find these couple of kids secret passageway in Freddy's basement. They start exploring the long and winding passage where they discover a coffin and a bottle of vampire breath. I believe one of my ultimate favourites was Beware the Snowman. This is based in a place called Sherpia, the edge of the Arctic Circle. Jacqueline has no idea why her aunt decided to move there. There's hideous howling noises at night. Scar-faced snowmen in front of every house, and something on top of the mountain. I think we're missing the Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. It's another of my favourites, which I need to acquire. And then we had R.L. Stein's Horrorland ones here. Sort of a new series, to freshen things up. A few horrors from the British Library. Let's see what's lurking with The Outcast, The Horned God. Okay, beautiful cover. Weird Tales of the Great God Pan. We have Into the London Fog. Eerie Tales from the Weird City. Beautiful texture there. Perfect for ASMR sounds. And of course, last but not least, 4 classic tales by John Wyndham, one of my favourite writers. Certainly recommend these books. The Chrysalids. We have The Secret People. Consider Her Ways and Others. And one of my favourites in the collection, of course, it's The Day of the Triffids there. The Sunday Times said one of those books that haunts you for the rest of your life. The sky's full of shooting stars, she said, all bright green. Everybody's out watching them, and sometimes it's almost as bright as day. Only all the wrong colours. It's a marvellous sight. It's such a pity you can't see it, isn't it? It is. Okay then, let's move on to Mr. Stephen King. Okay, I'm not going to say too much about these tales because you probably have either read them or know what they're based on or understand the plot at least. One of my favourites I've left out here. Salem's Lot, of course, a town that's being overrun by vampires. I love this beautiful new book design. So Ben Mears goes back to the town, I believe, where he grew up. But there are changes afoot. So he's going to write a novel. And of course you have the famous Marston House, plays a central role in the story. So we have The Green Mile, which, you know, a lot of these were made into movies, which I'm not quite sure the author would have approved of based on how the movies may have differed from the books. But of course we have The Green Mile, starred Tom Hanks, didn't it? You all know about Pet Cemetery. These are old style covers. Of course, that one was made into a movie, and of course a lot of you bookworms have already read this. The famous clown there, It. To the children, the town was their whole world. And of course, was it Jack Nicholson at the Overlook Hotel? He went nuts. We have The Shining. Doctor Sleep, Revival, The Institute. Do McKay, Finders Keepers, The Cell, Outsiders. So on and so forth. And at the bottom we have Bag of Bones. And I have another one that I can't see. Now we do have a couple more books at the bottom here which I can bring into play. This was given to me by a gentleman who I believe was half Native American. We had a little chat and he said he'd bring me a book which I could keep. Native American Magic. And we'll do one more, as well as Paranormal, to Demonology, Monsters and Bizarre Creatures. From Minotaurs to Golems to Mermaids to Sphinxes to Sirens. Yeah, these are the kind of things that mess your brain up. These older artists used to paint disgusting things. Demons and imps, jinns and so forth. A section on Western dragons. Transformations and hybrids. Something else at random. It looks oriental in nature. Okay guys, hope you've enjoyed seeing just a few of the books, listening to the sounds and learning a little bit more about my interests when it comes to the dark, mysterious and paranormal.